In order to be a top tier man operating and executing at the highest level, you need to have the edge in every area. And using retention is one of those ways that you can harness that energy. When you can use that energy, you can tap into another level of focus, energy, higher testosterone. Do you want to boost your health, performance, and vitality? Do you want to get the edge in your business, relationships, or your life? All of this is possible with the practice of seed retention. And I want you to listen very closely, because if you do this the wrong way, you run the risk of this danger of reducing the size, length, and girth of your male member. So pay attention, because in this video, I'm going to help you to understand how to avoid this pitfall and how to do semen retention the right way. And my name is Dr. Cody Crockett. I'm a PT, DPT, and I help men to optimize their testosterone, build an aesthetic body, and achieve peak performance in all areas of their life. And in today's video, the mission here is to help you understand how to do semen retention the right way. What are the benefits? What are the techniques? And how can you avoid this downfall of shrinking the size of your male member? Let's begin with what exactly is semen retention. This is a practice of abstaining from ejaculation for a period of time. By abstaining and retaining your seed, you can then cultivate this creative energy and transmute this into different areas of life. Because within the seed, there is very powerful creative energy. In fact, the creative energy is so strong that it creates life. So when we can take that energy and we can retain that and we can cultivate that, we can then transmute that energy into these different areas of life, whether it's business, athletics, performance, relationships, whatever this may be. Now, what are these benefits to seed retention? And I have some of the benefits up here for you. Let's go through this. First benefit on the list is increased energy and stamina. When you're retaining this energy, this helps this energy to cultivate, and you can then tap into this higher level of testicular energy. We then get into muscle growth and recovery. So when you're doing retention, you can recover faster. You can perform more in the gym, because say if you're depleted, you've been over ejaculating and you're just spraying seed all over the place, you're going to be depleted. You're going to have low sexual energy, and you're going to find that your performance in the gym is going to drop as well. You're not going to recover as well. So when you retain, this helps you to recover faster and build muscle better. Next, we get into increased focus and mental clarity. When you can do retention, you can enhance your focus and you free up a lot of energy. And when you can free that energy up, you can then better redirect that energy, because where your attention goes, energy flows. So bring that energy back and then control where your attention goes. Next, we get into emotional stability, which is talking about emotional groundedness, resilience. If you get into a challenging situation, say for example, if you are a businessman running meetings and you're in a high stress environment, you can be more grounded. Or if you're trading crypto, something highly volatile, you want to be emotionally controlled, grounded, resilient, so that if you see that there is this high volatility, that you can still remain confident in your position, in your trade, to know when's the right time to get out based on what your plan is. When you do retention, this is one of the advantages, one of the benefits, is you can tap into being grounded. You can be unperturbed by different emotional states. David Data talks about this in The Way of the Superior Man, how you can be grounded, be the unmovable mountain, be unperturbable. But when you're doing retention, this is where you can tap into this state of being more grounded, of not letting your emotions throw you all over the place. Next on the list here, we get into testosterone. So when practicing retention, there's some interesting things that happen to testosterone. On the topic of testosterone and semen retention, I have a free testosterone optimization course that you can get for free in the link in the description below. And spoiler alert, semen retention is one of the strategies to optimize your testosterone levels naturally. Check that out for free in the link in the description below. And there's 2 research studies that we're going to talk about here. The first one saw that on day 7 of retention, that there was an increase in testosterone of 146%. I drew this graph down here for you. Check this out. So we see testosterone slowly increases, and then we see this bigger increase on day 5, with testosterone peaking on day 7 at 146% increase. And then following day 7, day 8, 9, 10, we see a drop off back down close to baseline. So it does look like in this study that I looked at, day 7, there was a substantial increase of 146%, which then following after dropped back down. There was another study that I looked at that found testosterone increases at up to week 3 of retention. So somewhere between 1 week up to 3 weeks of retention. And we're going to talk a little later on doing these longer strategies of retention, how you can avoid this danger of losing the size, the strength of your erections, of your male member. So next up, other benefit of becoming a beast in the bedroom. When you master retention, when you gain control and tame your testicles, you can then tap into this ability to control this energy. When you can harness and control this energy, you can then use this to be a beast in the bedroom. Instead of letting this rule you, letting your libido, your sexual energy rule you and drive the desire, and then have you be a type of guy that has premature ejaculation, instead of that, when you tap into retention, you're the one that's in control. You're the one that puts the reins on the energy, and then you can redirect that to the point where women won't know what to do with you. You're gonna literally blow their minds, because if you can tap into this, be a superhuman, you can go for hours, possibly days. Without getting too graphic here, we're going to talk soon on how you can use these short-term practices to be able to be a beast in the bedroom. But by tapping into this and using these strategies, you can be a beast in the bedroom to the point where you can give your woman 7, 8, 9, 10 without actually going over the edge yourself, because you've gained such control over your energetic states that you can redirect the energy. And if you decide that you're going to go over the edge, you can do that intentionally rather than being out of control, being chaotic, letting this thing just build its energy up to the point where it just lets go. Instead of being that guy, you can tap into controlling the energy, taming your testicles, and then at that point you can just keep going and then intentionally decide when you're done. Now, what are some of the techniques that we can use to tap into seed retention? Let's begin with short-term techniques. On the short-term technique list, the first one we have here is edging and orgasm denial. So edging, where you're letting that energy build up to the point where you get close to the edge and then you back it down. You can redirect that creative energy and then you can use that in a different way, as long as you don't go over the edge. Next up, we have breath control. And when we're using the breath, the inhale, the exhale, this is where we can circulate energy. This is where you can use this along with the edging, where you get to the edge and use your breath. Focus your attention on the inhale, on the exhale, and circulating this energy in your body. Using the breath, learning how to breathe into your balls. This is a very powerful technique that you can use to tap into seed retention. I have videos on breathing into your balls. I actually have a guided meditation for breathing into your balls as well. I'll link that up here so that you can check that out if you're interested in a guided meditation with me. Next up, we have PC muscle pressure. So PC, that stands for pubococcygeal muscle. That's one of the pelvic floor muscles. And this muscle is one of the primary drivers of the pelvic floor. During intercourse, if you're finding that you're getting close to the edge, if you're finding this energy increase, ramp up, and you feel like you're about to go past the point of no return, some guys will experience putting pressure on the PC muscle, on the perineum, on your gooch, which that pressure then stops that flow. It can shut off the energy, and it can help you to drive that energy back down pretty quick. This is something that works for a lot of guys. I've not had much experience with this. I tend to use more of the breathing, and I got a pretty good grasp on using that. Then finally, we get into the next three of what's happening when you're feeling more aroused. You may not be necessarily participating in an act, but you just may be going throughout the day feeling these urges. These are some ways that you can use these short-term strategies to mitigate the urges. The first one on here is doing a cold shower or a sauna. If you're feeling this energy of arousal increase and you're feeling like you might relapse and end your streak of retention, doing a cold shower, a cold water plunge, or even a sauna is going to help to shift your focus and your awareness from that sensation in your body to the sensation of the temperature change. When you can expose cold, heat, that activates the nerve fibers in your body, which then activates parts of your brain and drives this sensation, this awareness, away from this urge of arousal. So using a cold shower, sauna, good way to mitigate some of those urges. Next is exercise and movement. So going to the gym, training, moving your body, that's a great way that you can circulate and redirect the energy. Next up is mindfulness and meditation. I mentioned I have the breathing into your balls guided meditation, where I guide you through how to cultivate golden white light and breathe that white light into your balls and throughout your body. I encourage you to check out that meditation just to give yourself a visualization that you can use throughout the day. Once you understand how to cultivate this energy and how to visualize this energy, you can then use this at different points throughout the day. Having a strategy where you can be more mindful of the sensations in your body, of these urges, of your arousal. Increasing your mindfulness on this is going to help you to then gain control and gain a grasp on how to control this energy, because it all comes back to energy control. It all comes back to understanding your arousal, what level you're at. If you get too high, how to bring it back down without interrupting the flow of the partner that you're with, being able to use some strategies to navigate the bedroom in a way where you're not interrupting the flow, you can still please your woman, while also being able to reduce your level of arousal at the same time. So having the awareness, the mindfulness, understanding where you're at, and then using these techniques and strategies to then control that energy, whether that means you're trying to increase this energy and really increase arousal, or whether you're trying to bring it more so down and pacify that feeling. So those are the short-term strategies on here. And I want to talk about the long-term strategies. And when we talk about long-term strategies, this is where it can be problematic for a lot of guys. And for many of you that are doing these long-term strategies of retention, this can be a big issue because many of you are doing this the wrong way. And like I said, you run the risk of shrinking your friend, shrinking your little pecker. You don't want to make this thing smaller, guys. You want to make this thing big, girthy, throbbing. That's where you want to be. So if you're doing retention, you may be making this mistake unknowingly and slowly shrinking your little guy. I can talk about how to make this thing bigger, how to mitigate and undo a lot of the damage. That's a little out of the scope of this video, but let's talk about what some of the long-term strategies are for seed retention. Now, the first one on here is NoFap. NoFap, many of you should be familiar with that, is simply we're abstaining from using naughty images. We're abstaining from, say, self-pleasure. We're abstaining from fapping. Then we get into the next one of Karezza or Tantra. And Karezza and Tantra are very similar. The difference is Karezza originated in Italy and Tantra originated in India. There are subtle nuances and differences between the two practices, but ultimately what I want you to understand is that when you practice Karezza Tantra, it reduces the focus on the outcome of achieving orgasm. And instead, you're focusing on cultivating a deeper connection with your partner. This means that you're focused on the sensations of what you're doing. You're focusing on your breathing, awareness, deepening connection. That's what these practices are focused on. They focused on the process, on cultivating connection. And when you can do this and use these short-term strategies along with the long-term, that's where you can use these short-term techniques during the practice of Karezza or Tantra. And you can use the edging, the breath control, you can use the pressure, you can use these to help control your energy when you are doing these longer term practices. Because guys, if you do just a long term, I mean, it could be a week, two, several weeks, a couple months. If you do this and you've built up all this energy and you've done semen retention, if you happen to say stumble across a girl that wants to sleep you at some point and you happen to hook up with her, well, you're going to be so sensitive and so out of practice in controlling the energy that you're going to be one of those chodes that end up premature ejaculation, don't satisfy the woman, and yeah, you got off, but now you're never going to see her again. She's unsatisfied, and that's not what you want to do. You don't want to be in that situation where you're out of practice and you've done this the wrong way to the point where when you are with a woman, you end up with premature ejaculation. So with these long-term techniques, using these along with these short-term techniques, that's where you can really become a beast and use these short and long-term together. And yeah, I know we haven't talked about the third one on the long-term list of doing Kegels and reverse Kegels. Let's do that now. Now, Kegels, this is where we're focusing on strengthening and contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor. This pelvic floor muscles is comprised of essentially a muscular sling at the bottom of your pelvis. Think of it like a diaphragm at the bottom of your pelvis, very similar to your breathing diaphragm, but it's in a way flipped and at the bottom of your pelvis. This is your pelvic floor. This is comprised of multiple different layers of muscles, the pubococcygeal muscle, the puborectalis muscle, and multiple more. But what you need to understand here is when you Kegel, you're squeezing that muscle as if you're urinating and you're going to cut off the flow of urination. You're going to squeeze your pelvic floor. You're going to contract. When you do the Kegel, you're contracting and you're squeezing and you're strengthening that pelvic floor. This is going to help you in the practice of if you're doing intercourse. It's going to help you if you feel like you're getting to the edge getting closer to the edge. This can keep the pelvic floor strong, and this is important because this supports all of the structures on top of the pelvic floor. If you have a weak pelvic floor, that can end up with multiple different issues, long-term, big, massive issues. Now, the Kegel is when we're squeezing, we're contracting, we're strengthening the pelvic floor. Now, the reverse Kegel is the opposite, where we're letting that pelvic floor stay relaxed. You're letting the pelvic floor relax and you're letting that energy cultivate. You're feeling the energy build, feeling that energy rise. In a way, you're feeling like the arousal level is increasing. Doing this balance of reverse Kegels and Kegels, this is where you can gain control of your pelvic floor and keep yourself healthy so that you have healthy male pelvic floor. This is very important. Now, where many guys go wrong is they go many weeks or months without any blood flow or an erection or any attention to this muscle. And if we don't use this thing, we are going to lose this thing. And this is where many guys run into the issue of shrinkage, loss of girth, loss of size, loss of length. And in order to prevent this, I want you to consider that this is a muscle just like any other muscle. And I want you to imagine what happens when we work a muscle out. We're sending blood, nutrients, we're expanding the tissue, we're engorging the veins, the arteries, the endothelial tissue. All of this tissue is filling up, it's expanding, it's stretching, it's engorging. And that stretching and engorging, not only does that stretch and expand the tissue, but that tissue combined with the nutrients is going to get that tissue to grow. So while many guys are making the mistake of shrinking their penis while doing retention, some guys, if you're following the right plan, can actually grow in size, strength, and tap into another level of being a superhuman in the bedroom. If you've stayed to the end of this video, I'll give you this. So if you consider this is a muscle, once a week, could be 30 minutes, 45 minutes, once a week, treat this as a workout where you're going to train this muscle. You may even take your pre-workout, vasodilators, whatever you do. There are certain exercises that you can use to increase size, strength, maybe practice getting to the edge, doing exercises along the way. There's different strategies, techniques on how to train this muscle, and you can actually increase length, size, girth, etc. So I encourage you, get the full guide to semen retention download in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video.